Now, I'm sure I know what you're thinking as soon as you read the title of this video. How is Lake Superior not the largest lake in Canada? Well, that's because Lake Superior isn't exclusively Canadian. You see, about 2/3 of Lake Superior is actually located in the United States. While it is the largest lake located in North America, it cannot be considered the largest lake located exclusively within Canada. Okay, so maybe now you're thinking of another Great Lake. Well, it can't be Lake Michigan because that's located entirely within the US. So maybe Lake Huron, right? Wrong. While Lake Huron is an extremely large lake, the fourth largest in the entire world, it's still also shared between the US and Canada, and thus it cannot be considered the largest lake exclusively within Canada. So that begs the question, what is the largest lake located entirely within Canada? Now, I know many people probably know the answer to that question, but if you don't, pause this video right now, go into the comments below, and type in what you think the answer to that question is. And as always, this is Ali, and welcome back to Urban Atlas. So to answer that question, the largest lake located entirely within Canada and not shared with the US is the Great Bear Lake. It's the fourth largest lake in all of North America and the eighth largest in the entire world. This massive lake is located in the Northwest Territories right on the Arctic Circle. And because of this, winter temperatures here can drop to -40 degrees Celsius. And the sun, well, that doesn't rise for months during the polar night. It has a surface area of 31,153 square kilometers. That means you can fit up to 50 Torontos in the Great Bear Lake. It's a pretty deep lake with a maximum depth of 446 meters and an average depth of 71.7 meters. And I would go as far as to say that this might be one of the most mysterious bodies of water on Earth. So in today's video, we're going to be diving deep into the Great Bear Lake. Despite being the fourth largest lake in North America, it's still enormous. It has a length of approximately 330 kilometers and a maximum width of 170 kilometers. Its length is approximately the same distance from Toronto all the way to Ottawa. And for up to 8 months of the year, from November all the way to July, this lake is locked under ice up to 2 meters thick. The ice is so solid that massive trucks can drive across it, creating temporary highways to otherwise unreachable communities. The human story of Great Bear Lake stretches back 8,000 years. Archaeological evidence suggests that Indigenous people have continuously inhabited this region since the end of the last glacial maximum, making this one of the longest continuously occupied places in the Arctic. According to the local Dene people who live along the shores of the lake was formed when a great bear spirit lay down to sleep and never woke up. His massive body became the lake, his breath became the mists that rise from the water, and his spirit remains as the guardian of all life in the region. These people developed a sophisticated seasonal cycle around the lake, summer camps along the shores for fishing, and winter settlements in protected valleys and carefully managed hunting grounds that sustained families for generations. Their traditional knowledge of this region encompasses far more than just survival skills. They developed a complex understanding of fish behavior, weather patterns, ice formation, and wildlife cycles. The first European to reach Great Bear Lake was likely John Franklin in 1825, but by then, Indigenous trade networks had already brought European goods to the region for decades. The real disruption came with the establishment of the permanent trading posts and the fur trade economy. But the Dene culture proved remarkably resilient. Throughout the colonial period and into present day, elders worked to preserve their traditional knowledge, languages, and spiritual practices. Today, there's a powerful cultural revival movement, with young people learning traditional skills and stories from their grandparents. And in 1993, the Dene signed a comprehensive land agreement that recognized their rights to traditional territories around Great Bear Lake. This helped them restore their role as environmental stewards of the land their ancestors had protected for millennia. Now, the lake has a very interesting geography. It has up to 5 arms, those being the Smith Arm, which is located to the northwest, the Dease Arm, which is located to the northeast, the McTavish Arms in the southeast, the McVicker Arm in the south and the Keith Arm in the southwest. The lake is known for its incredibly clear water. It is said that when explorer John Franklin placed a white rag in the water, it did not disappear from his sight until it exceeded a depth of over 27 meters. Now, if we really want to understand Great Bear Lake, we need to go back 20,000 years to its formation. At the height of the last ice age, this entire region used to be buried under ice sheets up to 2 kilometers thick. And this ice was so heavy it literally pressed the Earth's crust down like a giant thumb pushing it into a soft clay. And these massive ice sheets moved through the landscape. They carved out enormous depressions in the bedrock. The Laurentide ice sheet, the largest of these glacial giants, gouged out what would become Great Bear Lake. And as the ice began to retreat approximately 13,000 years ago, it didn't just leave behind the lake we see today. Instead, it created something even more spectacular, Glacial Lake McConnell, a prehistoric super lake that was absolutely massive and one that probably deserves its own video in the future. This lake covered over 200,000 square kilometers, larger than the entire state of North Dakota. It stretched from what is now Great Bear Lake all the way south to Lake Athabasca, encompassing the Great Slave Lake and connected waterways to a vast swath of northern Canada. And as the ice continued to retreat and new drainage routes opened up, this massive lake gradually drained and separated into the individual lakes we know today. Great Bear Lake is essentially the northern remnant of this ancient giant. Great Bear Lake straddles the boundary between the Canadian Shield and the interior platform, as well as biomes like the tundra and the northern boreal forest. The northeastern coast of the lake featured fjord-like bays with numerous islands as well as sharp cliffs, while the southwest shores of the lake are flatter with spruce and large swaths of muskeg. Because of its great size, Great Bear Lake has a shore length of 2,719 kilometers and includes 26 main islands. There are several rivers that flow into Great Bear Lake. These include the Whitefish River, the Big Spruce River, the Bloody River, and the Johnny Ho River, and many others. The main outlet of the lake is the Great Bear River, which flows into the larger Mackenzie River and eventually into the Arctic Ocean. Now, most of the rivers that surround Great Bear Lake drain nutrient-poor lands, which, combined with the cold temperature and considerable depth, means that the lake supports relatively few plants and animal species. And thus, as one of Canada's large lakes, Great Bear Lake has the fewest number of different fish species, that being only 16, with the most popular being lake trout. In fact, Great Bear Lake is known as one of the world's greatest places to go lake trout fishing. That's because the lake trout here can live up to 60 years, which is some of the oldest freshwater fish in the world. The north shore of Great Bear Lake witnesses one of nature's greatest spectacles, the migration of hundreds of thousands of caribou. Grizzly bear fish in its tributaries, while wolves patrol the tree line. In winter, musk oxen brave the extreme cold, their prehistoric appearance making them seem like survivors from another age. Now, there's only really one community located on the shores of this lake, that being Deline. This is a very small community with a population of 573 residents. And as you can imagine, because of its isolation, there are no permanent roads to this community, and access is only done by the Deline Airport and ice roads in the winter. Historically, two other communities have existed on the shores of Great Bear Lake, that being Fort Confidence and Port Radium. Both of these communities have long been abandoned. Despite its shores only home to a few hundred people, the lake has a long history of mining. You see, in 1930, a discovery on the eastern shores of Great Bear Lake would change the course of world history. Prospectors here found uranium ore located near Port Radium. And not just any uranium, but some of the richest deposits ever found. The uranium mined from Great Bear Lake helped create the atomic bombs that ended World War II. Approximately 3 mines had opened on Great Bear Lake. The largest was the Eldorado Mine. And here, radium and silver was mined until the Second World War, when labor shortages and decreased demand forced the mines to close. However, in 1942, the Canadian government secretly reopened the Eldorado Mine to extract uranium. most of which would go on to the Manhattan Project. Uranium mining continued on Great Bear Lake until the Eldorado Mine closed again in 1960. And thus, the ore processed from these remote mines was converted into plutonium, which was used to make Fat Man, the bomb dropped on Nagasaki. And for decades, mining operations scarred the landscape around the lake. Workers, many of them indigenous, were exposed to radiation without proper protection, and thus the environmental and health costs, well, they were enormous. The legacy of uranium mining at Great Bear Lake is complex. While the mines brought economic opportunities to remote communities, they also left behind contaminated soil, abandoned structures, and health concerns that persist to this day. Massive cleanup efforts have been undertaken. The goal is to return the land to its natural state. But the question remains, can you ever truly undo decades of industrial impact in such a delicate ecosystem? The good news is that the lake itself has shown remarkable resilience, but the surrounding area will require careful management for generations to come. One of the most fascinating aspects of this lake are the prophecies that indigenous people have towards it. You see, a Dene elder, widely regarded as a prophet, has made some prophecies regarding Great Bear Lake. His prophecy or prediction for the end times claims that as the world dries up, the little remaining life will flock to and end on the banks of Great Bear Lake. And during those difficult times, this lake will be seen as a physical beating heart to humanity. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this prophecy. Looking at the condition of the world now and where we're heading into the future, do you think there could be some truth to this? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you like content like this, give this video a like. And if you want to support my channel and my content, be sure to check out my YouTube shop for digital prints of many Canadian cities. If there's a specific Canadian city that you'd like to purchase a digital print of and that's not available on the website, please let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to make one available for you as soon as possible. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.